Hi everyone, welcome to An Hour with LawSikho. This is Ramanuj Mukherjee, and we used to have An Hour with LawSikho very regularly earlier, but we have kind of slowed down these days. And after a long time, we are having a session today. So welcome, and we have with us Rohit Arora, a tax practitioner, working a lot in the area of GST. And today he's going to enlighten us about the area of GST and tax law practice. So especially indirect taxes. So welcome, Rohit. How are you?
Yeah. Hi, Ramanuj. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, so why don't you tell us a little about your career journey so far, so that our listeners can kind of relate to your background and
Yeah,
the other things we're going to talk about eventually.
sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Rohit Arora. I'm a law graduate from Campus Law Center, Delhi University, and I graduated from the CLC in 2017. And after that, I started practicing in GST, or you can call it indirect tax, with a law firm called RSA Legal Solutions. It's in Gurgaon. So with a short stint, for a year or so, I worked with RSA Legal, and after that, I joined HSA Advocates, which is the Humans High Advocates. So I'm working with Humans High Advocates in their indirect tax team as a tax lawyer. So yes, and my area of work involves working in taxation laws, majorly into indirect tax. We do a bit of direct tax also, but our major of the work involves indirect taxes. So yes, earlier, like talking about indirect taxes, we because GST is a new law, so we don't actually there's no much of litigation in GST that is coming up right now. But yes, indirect tax laws, litigation, and all the work we do have to work in erstwhile indirect tax laws also, as in service tax or customs or central excise. So yes, my work area involves working into like advising clients on indirect tax, litigating on their part, or advising or assisting my seniors to in various matters before the courts, and compliance part and also compliance part because GST is a mixture of compliance and laws. So yes, we do like I have done a bit of compliance in GST too.
Okay, so if you can tell me a little about the average day of tax practitioner, what sort of work do you do? Like, what does take most of your time? Are you drafting? Are you litigating? Are you advising? I'm sure you're doing a mix of all these, but if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can give a sense of how you spend your time and what do I mean,
Hmm.
not just you, but tax lawyers, what kind of work does it really entail?
Yes. So actually, people have a thinking about tax lawyers is that we are somewhat related to corporate lawyers and we don't we are not much into litigation part. But that's a wrong kind of like thinking that people develop. Being a tax lawyer, you have to be like you have to do all the things. You have to do drafting, you have to litigate, you have to advise clients, you have to do compliance, and it involves all the things that a lawyer has to do. It's no different than a litigating lawyer. So now, yes, for a person who wants to be a tax lawyer or get into tax, he has to have drafting skills because we do draft petitions, appeals, replies to show causes. So you do have to get a good skill in drafting, as well as we do like tax because clients come to us on daily basis asking us about the various transactions they are going into or other things, or suppose a client has received a show cause and he needs a reply on that, he needs to give a reply on that. So first we have to advise the client on that what are the implications of if we say this, what will be the implications, if we say that, what will be the implications. So yes, it involves advising also, it involves drafting and compliance. As I told earlier, GST involves compliance. So yes, we do a brief of compliance as in to see what is the client is complying all the procedures that has been prescribed in the law. So yes, it is needed to drafting is needed, advising is needed, as well as compliance is needed.
All right. And so, but what is like the usual, mix for you? Like, do you have like, can you say that okay, like 30% of my day goes in advising clients and so on?
Hmm.
Like, you can give us some idea
Yeah.
as to what things will look like.
Yeah. So actually, what happens is it depends upon what assignment you're working with. You're assigned to. Suppose on a daily basis, our major of the work is our major of the time is goes into advising clients, because tax needs to be like, a company needs to be advised on every transactions that they are going into. They cannot go into a transaction without taking advice from their from their tax professional or the one with they're engaged with, right? So yes, our major of our time goes into advising clients and making them understand that these are the points that you have to take care, and these are the implications that will occur if you do this. So yes, our 60% of the time I can say that it goes into advising. 20% or 30% goes into doing like checking up. Is there everything, or is it like doing health checkup or doing normal briefing of the clients? And yes, it involves if suppose a matter comes up with a litigation, as I told, if the assignment is of litigation, so the advising part gets a bit low, and the drafting and getting into a like case involves much. So the advising part gets low when you are into an assignment which involves litigation. So yes, when a matter comes for litigation, we do advise client on initial basis and what all would be the repercussions and what would be the case status, or what will be the uh, as in what will happen in the when we file the replies, and what else.
Got it. So, when GST came in, we thought that, and especially so it was said that it will be a much simpler law than what we are used to, and there will be much fewer litigations. So, do you
Mhm.
think that GST introduction of GST has reduced work for tax lawyers, or would you say that there is significant opportunity even in GST to have a great career? And is like the practice of tax expanding, or what is going on? What's the outlook of the industry?
See, I'll give my example in this case. I graduated in 2017 from Campus Law Center. And as soon as I graduated, I had two options: either to go into litigation for a year or so, the general litigation, or trial court practice for a year or so. And after that, get into tax, because I was always inclined towards tax. But as soon as I graduated in 2017, GST was coming from like it came from July 2017. So I had an option either to go into trial advocacy or to get into GST from the very beginning and to see how the GST develops with the due process of time, and I'll be the one I'll be the one who will witness every step the GST takes, or every turn the GST does. So yes, if a lawyer talking about GST as a career, yes, it's a very lucrative career. It's very good to be a GST lawyer. It like people, I've seen people making money out of taxation laws, and it's a fact. It's proven fact. Right. So yes, if you want to be into tax, you should go into tax. You have to develop your interest in tax. I admit that it's a bit difficult, it's a bit technical, but yet it's not impossible to do it.
So people say that tax law is lucrative, but how lucrative? What basis do people say this? Like, I mean, can you give us some like ideas as to what is the opportunity really like? If you compare it to corporate law or even other litigation, like how does it stand, and
See,
what is it really like?
right. So, because tax law is called lucrative because, see, it's a very niche field. People in tax field are like, you can count the number of persons on your fingers. Like, I'm telling you, because the number of people in taxation are very less. If you, it's a proven fact ki, if there are number of people in a field is less, and the work as in the quality or the work quantity is more, so everyone gets a major hold of a work, right? Provided that you should have a good amount of knowledge to capture the work. Now, tax law is called lucrative because there are like it's a most volatile field. GST, as you see, it's number of notifications, number of circulars on daily basis coming out. You like even yesterday there was a GST council meeting, and number of decisions that were given through that meeting. So yes, it's lucrative because people come to you regularly to ask you and what they have to do, or there are suppose if a person and in the corporates, the corporates get they are very much like getting into the thing, if that is, if they are stuck to a GST practitioner or a tax practitioner, they'll try to get to that GST practitioner and get a major give all the tax assignments to him or to the law firm which they are working with. It's called lucrative because its number of people in the tax field is less. The quantity and the quality of the work is very high, and it's technical. So no person if a normal lawyer, if a normal corporate lawyer wants to do tax, he cannot come up to a company and say that I'll do the tax for you. He cannot do that because it's very technical, and he needs to have some basic knowledge to do that. And as soon as the with every transaction, it becomes very complex. So you cannot say if a normal lawyer can go to a law firm and go to a corporate company or an individual who has received a notice or an order from the authorities to say that I'll do it. So because the number of people are less, the chances of minting money is more. That is what that is what we do.
Understood. Understood. So, if you can tell me a little about this trend that government keeps saying that we are going to simplify the tax laws, and that it has happened also too in some areas. Like for example, I have had a chat with some transfer pricing lawyers, and they said that transfer pricing practices fundamentally changed. It has been so simplified that a lot of work that used to provide bread and butter doesn't anymore. And I think this may happen. Earlier there were so many different tax laws. Now there's only one GST, and hopefully GST laws will be more simplified over time. I mean that is in interest of the industry, and government has been claiming that they're going to do that. Do you think that that may reduce the scope of litigation in tax or advisory and litigation work in tax practice in the future?
Raman, I don't see that the yes, it has reduced, the tax litigation has reduced because while tax laws are have been subsumed into GST, so the pending cases which are with the department, they are they are trying to complete that as soon as possible. The SSTAT is working very hard to get all the cases done by down the line 5 or 6, 7 years. But talking about litigation in GST, yes, it's not going to end. I admit that, because people have when the GST came, people didn't know how to as in do what a law requires, or what are the transitional phases that a corporate needs to do. So yes, people have done mistakes. People are getting show cause notice. In GST, we as a law firm has witnessed notices received to our clients in which they have received the GST demands, or they have received something or else in GST. So yes, litigation is arising, and it would increase with the due process of time. We cannot say that.
Would you say that the reason litigation is increasing despite the law itself becoming simplified? Maybe the tax authorities have been more aggressive in recent times, and issuing a lot more notices, making demands in a lot more cases, and I also have factored that Indian economy is also increasing in size, and there is simply more formalization. So there are more bigger entities these days than there used to be a few years back, and perhaps these things are also contributing to the number of litigation and simply the amount of tax work increasing. Would you say that is the case?
See, yes, government is trying its very it's best to make the tax simple, and to make the tax simple, and to get an environment set for the corporates, calling out it for an ease of doing business in the taxation area. You can call it that. But yes, with if notification comes and it provides, actually the thing with government is the volatility or the number of notifications that they give out is humongous. So in GST, even we witness the notifications on daily basis on a particular topic that the condition of the department has been this, and after a period of a day or two, a notification comes up saying that okay, no, the department contains this. The example of this is advanced rulings. Advanced rulings are the most hot topic in GST right now. People go to advanced ruling to get a clarity on a particular topic. They feel that they want to get a clarity. and they go to the department saying that our understanding is this, and we have come to you to your understanding and to be on the safer side, that to see that our understanding is equal to your understanding. So yes, and we have seen advanced ruling, 95% of the advanced ruling that has come till yet, it's almost against the contention which the applicant has taken towards the department and saying that this is our contention. It's almost against the applicants. So yes, developing because of these advanced rulings or the notification, the volatility of the notifications, people have made mistakes. People have done something or else in the transitional phase or in the compliance procedures. They have not followed.
Basically, you are saying, Rohit, that the law has not really been simplified. It's quite complicated at the moment.
No, it's very complicated. I mean, for an example, it's a very general topic. It's very general. Reverse charge. Reverse charge is what a person has, like I receive normal in the normal tax transactions. A person who is supplying the thing has to collect the tax and give it to the department. While in the reverse charge, the person who is receiving the who is receiving the supplies has a responsibility to collect the tax and give it to the department. And in GST law, it has been prescribed that a person who is giving the tax on reverse charge has to make two documents: the self invoice as well as a payment voucher. I have seen companies who didn't know about the fact that these two documents are also to be made, and with as soon as the GST audit returns would be done or GST audit would be done, they'll get hold of it. Okay, so they'll come to know, okay, this was to be done, and we have not done it. So yes, procedural things in GST are major. They have to, and it has to be admitted that GST is very strict. The authorities are very strict. The courts are very strict about the procedural laws in GST. We have seen the case laws.
So, if you can tell us a little about, your training, like how did you get trained into tax law? Because when you're in college, there's very little you learn about tax. There are some customary subjects, yes, but you don't learn a whole lot. So, how did you learn tax law, and what has the journey been like?
Yeah. So actually, when I was most generally people ask me this, that how did you generate your interest in GST, because it's a very technical field and people don't want to get into tax. So when I was in final year of my law college, I came to know ki it's like I did my first of all I did my graduation from Delhi University. I'm a BCom graduate. I'm a Bachelor of Commerce graduate from Delhi University. I did my commerce, and after that I got into Campus Law Center for a 3-year law course. So in my final year, I did a survey or made a report saying like doing a checkup sort of thing with that. Okay, so these things are to be needed in criminal and civil practice, and these things are to be needed in tax practice. As I told, I was always inclined towards tax. I always wanted to be a tax lawyer because it's a very niche field, and I always wanted to be the one that to whom people should come talking about asking things on a particular subject or a particular thing that in which I am good at. I had interest in civil laws, I had interest in criminal laws. We had to do it because we were made to do it in law college. But yes, tax laws I was always inclined. So yes, after graduating from the college, I started directly to the tax field. People generally ask me, why didn't you go to civil practice or criminal practice? But because I had my own reasons. GST came up. I was the one, I was a budding lawyer at that time. I thought, let's give it a shot to GST, because I didn't want to waste my time, or I should not say that waste my time, but I wanted to get into GST from the very basics.
Okay, so sometimes you're losing you. Maybe there's some problem with the internet. Can you check the internet on your end?
Yes. My internet is correct, Ramanuj. I don't think that there's some lack on my behalf.
Okay, I'm not sure, but like we are losing some of the things you're saying. But anyway, we'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us about your experience of learning this tax law? Like, what did you start with, and what other things did you learn initially, and what made sure that you land the jobs and crack the interviews and all of that? So, how did it start and how did it develop? If you can take us through that.
Yes, please. So as I came into the tax practice, as in the last year, so as I came into tax practice, the basic things that a tax lawyer has to possess are numerous. You have to be good at your accounting skills. You should possess some accounting skills. You should know what is debit, what is credit, what are the basic financial statements that a company makes, because these are the things that you will see when you advise a client in tax laws. After that, yes, you should, in addition to accounting skills or in addition to commercial laws, you should be good at companies laws. You should know how a company works, and you should know how how an organization deals with that particular transaction and what all need to be done to do that. Now, talking about to get into particular topics of tax, or how to how did I started with how did I started learning about particular topics in tax. So one of my seniors suggested me that I should, and I'll also suggest the people who wants to get into litigation and tax litigation and they want to be a tax practitioner, that suppose for an example there's a concept called works contract. If you want to, and you're a new lawyer and you want to know what a works contract is, so I'll suggest is what my senior suggested. I'm passing on what my senior suggested me. You should, suppose for example the topic is works contract. You should get all the case laws related to works contract, as in the major landmark cases or the actually the cases which explain works contract. The decisions of Supreme Court, for example, there's a decision called Builders Association. There's uh, 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 escalators, cone elevators cases. So there are cases which explain works contract in a very wide term, and if you read the case laws with a determined mind, you will understand what the concept is. So yes, if you, I'll suggest what like to the new lawyers who want to get into tax. If you want to work for a specific tax and you want to learn about a specific field, get the case laws or related to that particular field or the particular topic. Start reading the case laws, because when you read the case laws, you understand what the actually the what the thing is in general terms. You can also get into books like this for new beginner, for the beginner. There's student guide from Singhania publications. There's for new lawyers, there's Date's publication. There's for service tax, there's Mr. Ashok Batra is there. You can read that books to get a basic of what is needed to get into a tax practice. So yes, that has to be done. To that, you actually need to learn, and you actually need to see what are the topics that you have to cover to advise clients. And you cannot be like, okay, this is the topic I'm going to advise a client, but I have no knowledge about that. You cannot do that.
So if somebody has into tax law while they're in college and they realize that I am interested in developing this further, then how should they go about it? Like how should they begin their like learning of tax law and like preparing themselves for a career in tax? Like what are the things that people can do in college itself?
See, actually, people in college, what I feel is that if it's very, you people are lucky if you get interested in tax in the college level itself. So if you see yourself as a tax practitioner with below after 5 or 7 years, or as a good practitioner, what you should do in a law college is that you should start reading the basics of tax laws. You should understand what are for a new lawyer. It is mandatory to understand for a for a GST practitioner, because you need to understand what the erstwhile laws were. GST is a major component of erstwhile laws. It's no much difference or different from the erstwhile laws. As in, for a major of the component in GST is from service tax. The type of supply, the place of supply, or the technical things which it in GST it came up from service tax. So you in law college you should understand the basics of what was the service tax, what was VAT, what was central excise, what is customs, what is foreign trade policies that are needed to be done. So yes, in the law college, apart from reading, you can try it's an admitted fact that you have to get into internships with a law firm which deals into tax. There are a number of firms in India which deals in tax. You can do internships, you can do research papers. You should read articles about the particular topic you are reading, case laws, or you think that this needs to be covered by me. So yes, reading case laws, getting research papers done, getting internships done, Other than internships, you can also, like for example, internship. If you want to get into internship, I'll not suggest that you do an internship for a short instant. People do have a thinking that okay, 1 month internship is good for it's enough. But yes, if you want to get a hold of a subject, I'll suggest that you stick to that law firm or you stick to the lawyer who practices tax law for at least 3 or 4 months. At least you, like, for example, you start an assignment with him, and after 1 month or a short stint of time, you get over with your internship and you go back to your college. What I'll suggest is like request the lawyer or the senior in the law firm that you want to extend your internship or you want to get into that assignment and you want to complete it. So it's internships, research papers, articles. Nowadays, YouTube or nowadays online media is full of content and knowledge on tax laws or any other law. So you should like use that sources also to clear your basics or to clear like to get an understanding what are the basics.
So to what extent can CS practice tax law, and how much do they actually do? Like, if you can give us an idea, because I believe CS do practice tax law. Some of them do LLB and they even get into full-time law practice, tax law practice. So what if you can throw us some light about like what is the limitation of this? How much can they do? How much they cannot do? And
Chartered accountants?
Please go ahead.
Hello. Ramanuj, I guess I've lost you.
I was saying that, for CAs, chartered accountants, chartered accountants are no practicing tax law apart from tax lawyers. And I was asking that, what is the limitation of that? Are they, like, how much can they practice? How much can they do and how much they cannot do? I'm sure they can give advice to their clients on tax laws. But beyond that, how much they can do and cannot do, if you can throw some light on that. Can they also appear in tribunals?
See, okay. So I'll start with what chartered accountants can do. Chartered accountants are like, we don't think chartered accountants as our opponents in tax field. They are as much as good as the tax lawyers are. They are very good at their work. Now, talking about chartered accountants, like there are chartered accountants who do LLB. I'll talk about them later. So yes, chartered accountants, if they are eligible to do litigation till tribunal, SESTAT, we are like in the erstwhile regime, we have in the erstwhile laws, SESTAT was the tribunal where the appeals were made. So yes, chartered accountants were eligible to go till tribunal, but yes, to go into high courts or to go into Supreme Courts, only lawyers are eligible. A chartered accountant with a LLB degree and a COP surrendered, that means he has a LLB degree. Like he is practicing as a lawyer and he's not practicing as a chartered accountant because he has surrendered his degree. Then only he is eligible to go into High Court and Supreme Court. So yes, chartered accountants can do litigation. They are very good at it. We have seen Mr. Hari Salve. He's a chartered accountant as well as a lawyer, and he practices. And everyone knows it's admitted fact that he is very good at his work. Now, chartered accountants and lawyers cannot be termed as opponents. We should make peace with them because they are very good at compliance part. They are very good at their interpretation skills. Lawyers are good at lawyering, and we are good at our drafting skills or what our lawyer needs to be done. We represent cases. We can represent cases at High Court or Supreme Court because we are given that leverage because of the LLB degree. So yes, a chartered accountant is no different from a law graduate. They are the same. They possess the same skills in what are needed to be good at taxation field. So, as per my understanding, personally, I don't feel that a chartered accountant is somewhat below the rank of a lawyer or a tax lawyer. They are all equal. They also advise clients on a day-to-day basis. We also advise clients on day-to-day basis. Our understanding on the tax laws are same. So I don't think that we should compare like chartered accountant or with a lawyer and try to differentiate them on their degrees or knowledge basis.
Great. So, you mentioned something about how a tax lawyer needs to have a great understanding of commercial law and contract law. So, if you can throw some light on this.
Yeah, please. So, yeah, actually, there's a thing what people people have an understanding that taxation lawyer is into calculation things. That's not a fact. In tax laws, what we do is we should like a tax lawyer is good at his interpretation skills. He is good at calculation skills because tax needs to be like a bit of part tax is needed is done with calculation. But yes, it's our thing is not to do too deep like to go deep into calculation things and keep out like litigation. No, we don't do that. A tax lawyer needs to be good at his tax laws. Obviously, it's a basic. You should be good at your civil side. You should be good at CPC. You should be good at contract laws because contract laws are important because when a company comes to us asking like they come to us asking, okay, so this is our problem, this is our contract we are getting into, what is your thinking or what do you advise on this? So a tax lawyer who should be like who has a good knowledge of contract laws, he'll do it very easily. And it is needed for a tax lawyer to get a good hold of good knowledge in contract laws. Same thing with this companies laws. We should know the basics of companies laws. Same is with this thing accounting skills. You should be good at the three basic what we call three basic accounts or the three basics financial statement that a company makes, because we generally advise clients on when we see their when we see their contracts, when we see their financial statements, that is how we advise clients. So yes, a tax lawyer should possess all the skills and it should not be limited to the taxation field. It's not the thing that a lawyer can do. So as per me, a tax if you want to get into tax, you should have a basic knowledge of CPC. In fact, you should be very good at it. Constitution, it's the basic. You should be very good at your constitution. The constitution amendments which brought GST, the constitutional amendments which were the fundamental rights, the fundamental duties, or anything in constitution that is needed by you to understand the basics of the law. That will help you. That will see gaining knowledge is never a bad thing for a lawyer. You should be good at your learning skills.
So, if you can tell me about like what are the important skills to really learn if I want to be a tax lawyer, what are the skills I should cultivate? Like, what are the top 5 skills of a tax lawyer in your opinion?
Okay, top 5 skills. It will be a little hard for like to really like tell what 5 skills a lawyer should possess in tax. But yes, if you want to get into tax and like the skills you need to possess are your interpretation skills. You should be very good at interpreting. Obviously, like you get good at it with a due process of time. You cannot be a master at your interpretation skills in a day or so. It increases the due process of time, as well as after interpretation skills, it's your drafting skills. You should be very good at your drafting skills. A lawyer, not even a tax lawyer, every lawyer, whether it's a corporate lawyer, whether it's a litigating lawyer, every lawyer should be very good at his drafting skills. So his drafting skills, your interpretation skills, you should be ready to like read, because tax laws are like as compared to other laws, tax laws bare acts run into number of hundred of pages. So you should be able to like get like stay like you should be ready to go to the like during to the assignment and actually give your 100% in for that assignment. And it's almost equal to the every other lawyer needs to possess. So it's as per me, a tax lawyer should be good at his taxation, the basic skills, your company, as I said earlier, the basic skills that a tax lawyer need to possess. So yes, for a tax lawyer, there's no other thing that a corporate lawyer, it's no other thing that needs to be differentiated from a corporate lawyer or from a other lawyer. The skills that a lawyer needs to possess are same as a tax lawyer needs to possess. You need that quantity of hard work. You need that quantity of actually zeal to get into assignments. You should never be. You should have like you should go to your seniors asking them, okay, what needs to be done next? Okay, this is the assignment. Okay, I'll go. I'll do it. Please help me do it. So that you should be ever ready to do that assignment. Nothing else. So it's the skills that a tax lawyer needs to possess are same as other lawyers need to possess.
Okay, so in the work that you do, like let's say that I want to start my say I'm going to join as a first. I say I am working as a lawyer already, and I know my work as a lawyer, but
Mhm.
I kind of want to get into tax now. Okay, and what are the few things I'll have to learn? Like let's say if you learn these 5 or 10 things, you'll hit the ground running. Like what are those things I should be really learning?
Okay.
You can.
Okay, so you're asking whether a normal lawyer, whether a corporate lawyer wants to get into tax and he wants to get an assignment done by himself. So yes, if you want
No,
to,
it is not. No, no, I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not asking that if he wants to get it done himself. I'm saying that if he wants to practice law, tax law,
Acha,
there are
okay,
a lot of people are shifting and they are looking for some other area to practice in.
right, right, right.
So I'm trying to actually understand like what is the. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so recently I was talking to somebody who's into funds formation, and
Hmm.
I asked her, if I want to do funds formation work, what are the things I need to learn? Okay, so she said, okay, these are the two statutes you have to learn. These are the few documents you'll be drafting all the time. So like that in your tax practice, what are like kind of things you do all the time? Like these are the things which are like bread and butter ABCD kind of thing that
Hmm.
we will.
So yes, I've also witnessed people who, with the advent of GST, have gone into the practice of taxation laws, and there are people who are really interested to get into taxation laws. So yes, if a person wants to get into tax laws, and he's a lawyer, provided that. So what I feel is that if a person is already a lawyer and he wants to start a tax practice, it's very like obviously he needs to get an understanding of what the basics in GST are. So there are particular topics in GST that needs to be understood by a lawyer who gets into GST practice at the very initial. So suppose there's time of supply, there's place of supply, there's the charging section, obviously the what is actually a charging event in GST. So yes, if a lawyer wants to get into GST practice or a tax practice, he needs to have a good he needs to like increase his knowledge base in tax. He needs to understand what the contractual implications relate to taxation laws, how a tax law deals with the transitional advisories. So that's how a lawyer need to get into tax. It's nothing else. It's the same as in if a lawyer needs to get into a specified field. Suppose because he earlier he was working in a number of laws, but yes, after, when he wants to shift to taxation laws, he's trying to get into a niche subject. So yes, he needs to possess some basic knowledge of that particular subject to get into that field. That's how things need to be done for a lawyer to get into tax practice. What I feel.
Okay, so if you can throw some light on how you see the tax practice evolving in the future. Like what is the like how are things changing? Like is there a lot of technology being implemented? Like what are the future trends in tax
Okay,
industry?
so actually GST, talking about GST, it's what I feel is it's a very lucrative field. It will be like it will increase your it will with the due process of time the litigation in the field would come up and we would get more work to do and we would get more assignments to do. So yes, if a person like talking about the tax career down like after 5 years or 10 years, it's very good. The compliance actually in GST, your major of your part is procedural. There's a substantive part of law. Yes, it needs to be done. It needs to be followed. Yes, other than that, there are compliances that need to be followed, and they are pretty much strict that a company needs to adhere to. So yes, if you plan to get into tax or you see tax as a career, you should be good at compliance. With the due process, after like we have seen companies who when they are into like when they are dealing with GST, they need to get compliances done. They need to get the substantive part of law to be done. So GST, as it is said that it is related to compliance, it is related to law, and with the as and it involves a lot of technology. We have seen GST, and that is the website which deals with the technology thing, or which handles the filing procedures of in GST. It's a it's a kind of thing that a person should be related to or should understand what how the website actually works to. and what is the procedure through which a form need to be filed, or how particular thing needs to be done on that portal, that GST portal that has been developed by the government. So it is involved, GST is running parallel with the technology, that we can say that it's running as the technology, because GST had made the GST, because it's very it has made the communication between the department, as in the physical terms, with the clients very less. So the gap between the, as in the chances of getting bribery or something, or any other thing that the people used to talk, that is not going to happen in GST, because it's running parallelly with the technology, as people call cashless economy that people talks about. It's the same thing. So yes, GST is running parallel with the technology. It's getting involved as the technology is increasing. We the forms, the earlier, like in the erstwhile laws, the forms which were need to be handed over to the department in physical forms, and now we are doing it on online basis. So yes, it is running parallelly, and like a person who is a tech savvy, like not a tech savvy, but he should have a basic skills of how to run the proper website of the department. It's obviously very good for him to do that.
So, what are some of the essential readings that one should follow if they you can recommend some books and readings for
Okay,
people on
so
GST?
In GST, there are certain books which a person can buy. There's Mr. Ashok Batra's GST commentaries, which a person can buy. It's for GST. A Bail Act is must, obviously. Other than that, you need to get the, and like as I told earlier, you need to get a basic of like an understanding of the erstwhile laws, because that is what which has been like shifted to GST. You should read service tax. Mr. Ashok Batra is also is very good at service tax. His books are available in the market. You can get service tax books of Ashok Batra, sir. You can get excise of V.S. Date, sir. There's an edition V.S. Date, sir, in which he has explained the concept of excise laws very well. So there used to be VAT laws. VAT laws, there are a number of books in the market. You can buy any of them to get an understanding of that. So yes, after you should have a basic understanding of the erstwhile laws to get a basic understanding of GST. So yes, in GST there are number of books which there are a number of books from the taxman publications. There are a number of books from other publications as well, from which a person can buy and see what he can actually what are the contents of the book are. So yes,
A good blog to follow. If you can also suggest on that, like what would be some of the good blogs to follow?
some other
Good blogs.
good blogs. Okay, so yes, there are a number of blogs that are that are available on internet, in which people have actually shared a good amount of knowledge. There are many videos on YouTube. There are many channels that operate on YouTube, which actually gives you a understanding of what are the basics, and what is a concept under GST, and this is their understanding. And it actually helps when you are stuck at a particular small point and you need to get a clarification in an immediate basis. So yes, YouTube, no doubt. There are various blogs that are being that are on the internet, which you can run. So there's a very good web called Tax India Online. It's very helpful for us. Every tax lawyer is required to have a subscription on Tax India Online or Taxman, and there's Tax Sutra. So yes, there are a number of various websites who actually runs a very informative blogs on tax, and they actually captures the recent amendments and the recent changes in the laws, and they actually get a number of articles on those changes. So that actually helps a tax lawyer to understand the basics, or to understand the actual change, that what the change has happened. So yes, there are a number of blogs. You can actually read that blogs, and I guess they are freely available to the general public. You can go and read them. There are YouTube videos if you want to get into that, you should apply to that. And there are a number of newsletters that actually some of the organizations, suppose there's a newsletter from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, there's a newsletter from the Institute of Company Secretaries. So yes, they also actually gives out a newsletter on a daily basis or a fortnightly basis on a weekly basis, in which they actually explains the basics of a particular topic under GST or under any tax law. So yes, you can subscribe to them. They're freely available to the general public. You should read those subscribers, those newsletters as well.
So Rohit, we are going to conclude this session, but if you have any parting message, anything to share with people, please go ahead.
Yes. See, what I feel about GST law is that I've seen people, like many of people in which I have gone into conversations with, they actually, the understanding of the normal public is that tax is it's very difficult, it's very technical. No, it's not that. With It's the same thing with if you practice in any other law. It's the same thing. If you have to read it, you have to be you have to be get used to it. Like for a 6 months or 8 months, you get, like, you spend your time with the books and the case laws. Then only you understand the basics. It's the same with tax laws. It's not nothing different with the tax laws. So if you want to get into tax, you should get into tax, and it's a very lucrative field. It's very good. The future in tax laws is very amazing. I'm telling you. I've seen people who actually are very good at tax laws, and they are actually doing very great at their careers. So yes, if a person wants to get into tax, they should not be afraid of doing the technical part or anything. It's the same which as the other laws are done. So that's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Rohit, for coming and sharing all your knowledge.
Yeah, sure.
All this really great. And we definitely look forward to having you another tax conversation and maybe learning more about specific tax laws in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ramanuj, for having me on LawSikho. Thank you.
And thank you everyone who joined us today. Take care. Bye.
Sure.